Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the APES 2022 afternoon session of day one. This afternoon, we will have three parts of different speeches. Firstly, we will have three experts talking about ecotourism in Myanmar and India. Then we will have the thematic session of ecotourism supported by political will. And we will learn about ecotourism in Mongolia, Cambodia, and Sri Lanka. Lastly, we will hear from our European colleagues on the past and current journey of ecotourism in Europe. Before introducing the speakers, I would like to kindly remind our speakers of keeping your speeches up to 15 minutes. And for having more efficient Q&A session, I would like to encourage our participants to write your questions on the chat screen if you have any questions, but please make it clear who you are asking. For the first part of this afternoon session, let me welcome Mrs. Kiki A. She is currently the Senior Tourism Advisor of the Myanmar Tourism Federation. She had a full-time government service from 1979 to 2010 in different capacities in the Ministry of Education for 16 years and another 16 years for Ministry of Hotels and Tourism. She is an AEM board member representing Myanmar. Since 2011, she has been actively embarked as a national consultant in many tourism projects. Her expertise lies in development and management of responsible and sustainable tourism in hospitality, rural development, child protection, women and youth, ecotourism, and community-based tourism. Kiki, the stage is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone. Allow me to share the screen. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, so we can see yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So during my presentation, first of all, let me greet you all Mingalaba. And let me proceed right to the presentation where I will be attempting to align with the tourism policy, which the next speaker will be talking about, and in line also with the leadership of the Union Minister, Dr. Taeang's speech, while sharing some insights on visitors' experience, especially enhancing community awareness and social well-being, of course. So I always believe that where there is a will, there is a way. And we have many options now. And in our case, Myanmar has a very strong will to improve. We are discussing continuously in our own capacities at different levels, at the ministry level, as well as at the private sector level, for continuously finding the ways. So I'll walk you through our vision in New Normal Ecotourism Rebuilding and our connecting ways to elephant conservation-based ecotourism. And I will have some examples on Bagoyoma, which I'll just run through, and also connecting to Tanindari, which is a Miek archipelago ecotourism. And before my vote of thanks, I'll have some takeaway and recommendations for improvement on the collaboration and improvement in our the ways that we want to move forward. Our vision, of course, you can see that we have a horizon there. So looking at the horizon means that there is a beam for tomorrow, and the future lies in the future, of course. And what we can do now we are trying our best. The vision, of course, if we look back, clearly is identified in our policy documents, and I'll be running through just very quickly on the Myanmar ecotourism policy and management strategy for protected areas, and minded that I was part of that, so I have a passion to talk about it. And our ecotourism management strategy is in and around the protected areas. And secondly, of course, there will be guidelines for eco-lodges. So if we look at the definition here, it's very clear that our ecotourism, we are referring to tourism-related activity in and around our protected areas. And in the coming slides, we will see why we said in and around its protected areas, because Myanmar is a very vast country, and you'll have to understand that we have to move step by step. And our vision, of course, is to use ecotourism as a driving force in order to engage all our stakeholders. And in the definition itself, we talk about education and training, and also bringing economic and social benefits to the host, as well as preservation, conservation of our biodiversity and ecosystems. So what is our mission? Of course, the mission is very vast, and we have selected prioritize protected areas for that. And we have our 10 guiding principles. And regarding the eco-lodges, developing the eco-lodges with the guidelines, that of course includes planning, design, environmental impact assessment, and construction of eco-lodge. That, of course, as I was saying, that was introduced in 2017, and we have yet many areas to improve on. Now, we always talk about our strengths first, but we also have our challenges. And our challenges and constraints, issues would always be there. And it's not only with Myanmar, I suppose with any other country, we would have also constraints and issues. But for today, I'll be talking mainly on the strengths that we possess in nature, and how best we can develop our love for nature and our core values. As I was saying, that I agree totally with the the first session, that we need to have a wisdom to say that ecotourism is not a destination. So we cannot say this is an ecotourism destination, rather that it's a journey where we will walk together. So if we look at this, we will find that our core values are multiple, and it's not an easy task then if the core values are multiple. Because, like, for example, if we look at flora and fauna itself, for example, we have over 350 species of birds in Myanmar itself. And earlier speaker mentioned that now the most eco-tourists are interested in watching birds. Now we also have nature and culture we cannot separate. Nature and culture. Now, if we look at the mangroves, for example, rainforests, marine biological species, the islands, the archipelago, the communities, these are all part of the natural cultural heritage that we possess in Myanmar. The next, what I would like to quickly touch upon is the priority areas. I'm not going to go into detail about that. It's just to identify that Myanmar is a vast land, and geographically it covers an area of 676,578 kilometers, and our land is made up of 96.94%, and water we have something like 3.06%. And the coastline is wide, it's long, it's 1,930 kilometers, with a population, if we look at it according to the 2020 census, it's about 54 million. So we have identified in our policy paper 19, and then the elephant camps, of course. But now what the MONRAG has done is that we also have identified 22 elephant camps. And in addition to that, we also have 7 ASEAN Heritage Parks for ecotourism spread out in the country. Then also Ramsar sites since 2014 also spread out in the country, and there are altogether 6 of them. Then I will now go to how we want to connect to elephant conservation-based ecotourism. And I've chosen Bago Yoma because of the accessibility. We have elephant conservation-based ecotourism around this area. And I think this is an ideal place where we can come in, the expertise can come in, help. Also, the communities can also receive that knowledge, the science of developing elephant conservation-based ecotourism. So we love our elephants just as we love our birds. So people talk about logging, people talk about other things that we are misusing, misinterpreting also the core value of our species, you know. And here I will move very quickly to some of those slides which will encompass, will also show the different activities that could be done. And this slide itself, you would see the area, the location where it's not only an elephant-based, conservation-based ecotourism, but you have the community living around it, and you have nature around it, and you have activities which can attract local people, activities which can attract lots of people once this area is known. But we have to be very cautious how we balance this. And this I am just putting it in so that whoever picks it up also would want to know where on earth in Myanmar is this elephant camp. And when I say elephant, it's not just elephant as elephant, but how we can conserve, how we can base it on ecotourism. And it's the sustainable part, the responsibility part, and the accountability part of the stakeholders who are living in and around this area. This is the route, of course, and we have to be very, very careful that there are different areas that you can, it covers a 15 square miles, but within this area, there are other activities, as I mentioned earlier on. And interestingly, they have developed, as earlier speaker was saying, we always have man-made developments around it. And this is the cautious part that we have to be very careful about. And theirs is the natural forest. And we have developed a man-made viewing point here. And this is where the camp is, the forest. You can see the vast forest, you can see the banana plants, the plantains, and these are the detailed, you know, and around it you would see teak, which is as old as 1919. Can you just imagine World War I, at the end of the World War I. This is the site where we have the Eco Lodge, and this Eco Lodge, of course, we have abundant teak, but here they are using teak, of course, and that itself, we have to be cautious that we do not replicate something of the sort in other areas, although we have abundant wood, abundant teak, hardwood in this area. So this is something that for knowledge sharing, how do we preserve the forest and at the same time involve the community into understanding, involving the stakeholders to invest, but invest well for high end and luxury, of course, but we do not fail our trees. This is in Tinindari, and if you will allow me, here, of course, is the Koh area. It's in Miek Archipelago. Imagine the beauty of the archipelago, where we have 800 islands. And some are inhabited, some are not. And we have our core values of nature. And this location is in the southern tip of Myanmar. So those who are nature lovers, we all are nature lovers, but we do not come in contact with nature as such, as we would find in Miek Archipelago, for example. And the diving sites have manta ray, whale shark, and just to name a few. But here also caution is needed.
Could you wrap up, Kiki?
Yes. I'm almost there. Mangroves. Then I'm talking about the scuba diving part, and the we have to be careful about our management, how we manage our waste, how we manage our fuel, how we manage water. So the takeaway points and recommendations are a bit maybe awesome, but it's just good points that we always talk about sustainability and reliability, responsibility, which policymakers widely recognize, and we will align to SDGs, the active engagement of national stakeholders, and we want to build business startups for the community and provide trainings, encourage more trainings in giving and getting information, as well as special trainings for divers, trekkers, campers, cycling people, cyclists, and we should have a communication action plan. So these are the learning points, and we should also revisit coastal high altitude mountain area, lowland architectural guidelines, so that we are able to tap in investment incentives, get investment, but mind it, develop case studies, and we should go slow. We should go easy. We should go steady on our development. So my vote of thanks go to AEN, of course, and MOHT, MTF, which is Myanmar Tourism Federation, MONRAC, which is the National Resources Environmental Conservation Ministry, my colleagues from Naypyidaw, my colleagues from Mandalay, my colleagues from Tinindari, and all interested and who have helped me bring this to this table, to this platform. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your informative presentation. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Zeyar Aung to speak. He has been serving in various management roles at the Ministry of Hotels and Tourism of Myanmar since 2002. Currently, he holds the position of Director for Tour Promotion. His key interests are focused upon sustainable tourism development, human resources development, international relations, and marketing and promotion. He also has a solid network of professionals from the public and private sectors, both in and outside of the country. Please, welcome Mr. Zeyar Aung.
Thank you, MC, for inviting us to participate in this event. First of all, I would like to extend my warm thanks to the Asian Ecotourism Network and the organizer of today's event for giving me the chance to present about ecotourism development in Myanmar and the way forward. As our ministry is responsible for tourism promotion and development in Myanmar, we work very closely with the ministry concerned and tourism-related organizations for the development of tourism in a sustainable and responsible manner. In preparing for the reopening of tourism in Myanmar, it is important for us to diversify our tourism offerings to potential visitors. As we all are aware, due to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is forecasted that tourism trend will likely to shift from the crowded popular destinations to the off the beaten tracks area where they can be doing nature-based activities. This new trends of tourism sector brings special opportunities for Myanmar to promote ecotourism that focuses on the protected areas where there are wildlife, beautiful land and seascapes, and diverse ethnic lifestyles. Therefore, I would present the policy matters of our country for the sustainable and responsible tourism development with a special focus on the ecotourism development. As we all know, the tourism industry is made of goods, services, and activities, what we call supply chain or value chains. That includes transportation, accommodation, catering and retail, recreational and cultural activities, travel-related services, etc. In the demand side, tourists may be generally divided into 4 groups: leisure travelers, visiting friends and relatives, holiday makers, and business travelers. Tourism activity has both positive and negative impacts. As per our observation, we see some positive impacts of tourism in our country are income generation for personal and for destination or attractions, employment opportunities or job creation, high multiplier effect, improved government services, raise awareness of conservation, cultural exchange and understanding, education opportunity, especially for learning and skills, improve infrastructure, pride of local residents for their places, improve living standards. Apart from the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, we have encountered the negative impact of tourism. We often see the followings at the tourist spots: litter or pollution, loss of natural beauty due to the extension of buildings, begging, crime, scams, prostitution, inflation, seasonality, loss of wildlife due to the illegal trades, local culture is also affected, loss of valuable artifacts, disturbs villages and their traditional way of life, over dependence on tourism and failed expectations. As we all are aware, according to the UNWTO, sustainable tourism development meets the needs of the present tourists and host regions while protecting and enhancing opportunity for the futures. Whenever we take the initiatives for tourism development of any kind, it is necessary for us to work according to the policy laid down to ensure the sustainability of our tourism industry. Our ministry has initiated to develop policy guidelines for sustainable tourism development in our country. So far, we have developed several policy documents for the sustainable tourism development, such as responsible tourism policy on community involvement in tourism, Myanmar ecotourism policy and management strategy, Myanmar tourism master plan, Myanmar community-based tourism standards, Myanmar tourism strategic recovery roadmap, etc. So now let me elaborate a little bit on our policy guideline that we have developed for the sustainable and balanced tourism in Myanmar. First, let us see the responsible tourism policy. It is mainly based on the tourism principle that are to minimize the negative economic, environmental, and social impacts to generate greater economic benefits for local people and enhances the well-being of host communities, improve working conditions and access to the industry, to involve local people in decisions that affect their lives and their life chances, to make positive contributions to the conservation of natural and cultural heritage, to the maintenance of the world diversity, to provide more enjoyable experience for tourists through more meaningful connection with local people and a greater understanding of local cultural, social, and environmental issues, to provide access for physically challenged people and to be culturally sensitive and gender respect and between tourists and hosts builds local pride and confidence. In a nutshell, the development of tourism should focus not only on providing desirable tourism experience of tourists, but on bringing social economic development for the host community and conservation of natural environment. Now, I will touch upon the policy on community involvement in tourism, which was developed and launched in 2013. The policy was aimed at the community to be able to involve in the tourism development process and tourism activities that operate in their localities. It was based on the following principle. Number one, do no harm to communities. Two, recognize, support, and promote community ownership. Three, involve community members from the start of in every aspect and promote community pride, improve the quality of life of the local people, ensure environmental sustainability, and preserve the unique character and culture of the area. Number 8 is foster cross-cultural learning. And number 9, respect cultural differences and human dignity. Number 10 is to distribute benefits fairly among community members. And number 11 is contribute to a fixed percentage of income to community projects. In order to respond to cross-cutting issues in tourism, Myanmar Tourism Master Plan has clearly set out the 6 strategic directions to strengthen institutional environment, to build human resource capacity, to strengthen safeguards and procedure for destination planning and management. Number 4 is to develop quality products and services and to improve connectivity and infrastructure and to build image, position, and brand of the country. Although the master plan is intended for the year 2012 to 2020, still we have a lot to do with these 6 directions, strategic directions. Some follow-up tourism policy guidelines and strategies were developed based on the directions of the master plan. As for the ecotourism, we have developed Myanmar ecotourism policy and management strategy with the aim of promoting green growth and mitigating the effects of climate change and avoiding irreversible damage of Myanmar flagship habitats. In addition, the policy has clearly pointed out the fact to diversify the tourism economy and seek to maximize the contribution of economy to both protected area management and the livelihood of the communities that live in around these special areas. We have also developed Myanmar Tourism Strategic Recovery Roadmap, incorporating a 1-year detailed plan to mitigate and to respond to the impact of COVID-19. We have set out goals for immediate, medium, and long term in this 5-year plan. For the immediate term, we have been initiating the activities that intend to restore the confidence to boost and restart the domestic tourism industry. We will rebuild visitor demand and product offerings in the medium term, and we will develop a more resilient, balanced, responsible and sustainable tourism sector in the long term. Following up to the strategic directions mentioning in the Myanmar Tourism Master Plan, we have also developed Myanmar Community-Based Tourism Standard, or CBT. CBD in Myanmar is only at the stage of infancy, and we develop CBD based on the 3 approaches. Number 1 is involving destination communities in tourism planning and decision-making to maximize local benefits. Number 2 is to start with pilot projects in small destinations like community lodges, homestay, handicrafts markets, etc. And number 3 is to enable business opportunities for local communities such as bed and breakfast, guest houses, community homestays, etc. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Conservation and other ministries and organizations in Myanmar have also issued laws, rules, and guidelines that support the biodiversity and tourism industry. Here are some examples. The documents are very much supportive of ecotourism development in Myanmar. Ecotourism is about uniting conservation, communities, and sustainable travel. This means that those who implement and participate in ecotourism activities should follow the following ecotourism principles: to maximize impact, to build environmental and cultural awareness and respect, to provide positive experience for both visitors and hosts, to provide direct financial benefits for conservation, to provide financial benefits and empowerment for local people, and to raise sensitivity to host countries' political, environmental, and social climate. Covering the area over 676,000 square kilometers, Myanmar is blessed with a wide diversity of ecosystem. This rich diversity of landscapes and ecosystem, together with the contrasting patterns of ethnic and cultural adaptation to these landsform, provides strategic opportunities for us to develop tourism industry. Ecotourism destinations were designated according to the number of factors, including their historical context, accessibility, key natural and cultural features, etc. Currently, the total protected land area is almost 50,000 square kilometers, or 6.8% of the country's total land area. In the 30-year forestry master plan, we are committed to expand protected area coverage to 10% of the local land area by 2030. And also from the regulatory perspective, the protection of wildlife and protected area law provides a legal basis for tourism activities in protected areas. Unlike other industry, ecotourism offers protected area a range of economic, social, and environmental benefits that includes generation of revenue to finance protected area management, direct and indirect alternative income, and employment opportunities for local communities, and greater public advocacy for stronger protected area management. Myanmar has now 19 designated tourism sites in the protected area network, some of which includes ASEAN heritage parks and Ramsar sites, and 22 elephant camps where visitors can enjoy elephant tourism activities. These are designated ecotourism sites, and I mentioned on the slide that I hope you can see the location on the map. When we choose a site to be developed as the ecotourism destination, we take these 8 considerations for the development of ecotourism destination. As the way forward to develop ecotourism in a sustainable and responsible manner in Myanmar, we will develop ecotourism in a step-by-step approach. We will take into account a wide range of factors, including accessibility, current visitor numbers, community interests, and safety and security issues to make to the decision as to which ecotourism sites should prioritize for promotion and development. The promotion of ecotourism activities to these destinations is intended to deliver a wide range of social, environmental, economic benefits to the significant percentage of resident populations, which in most instances are marked by remoteness and lack of community involvement. We carefully consider that ecotourism development in the future must be supportive of fragile mountain livelihoods and sensitive toward climate change and water, energy, food agendas, shaping these environments. In terms of coastal, marine, and wetland environments, we will look to models of global best practice to design and deploy the ecotourism approaches tailored to the specific conditions to this ecosystem. Moreover, site-specific approaches to address the diverse and complex challenges of these contrasting ecosystems will be developed. We will also engage with our ASEAN partners to learn from and promote good ecotourism practices throughout the ASEAN region. In this regard, special attention is given to leveraging the status and role of ASEAN heritage parks in promoting national and regional good practices. This is all for my presentation on Myanmar ecotourism development and the way forward. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good to learn, what the Myanmar government did and will do. And then now I'm very delighted to have the third speaker, Mr. Rajiv Bhartari, for the next speech. Rajiv is an Indian Forest Service officer from 1986 batch. He is pursuing his doctorate in forestry and conservation sciences from University of Montana, USA. He is a member of the IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas and a fellow of LEAD International. Rajiv has contributed to ecotourism planning and development in the Corbett Tiger Reserve as an Indian Forest Service officer. He has also been actively involved in nature guide training programs, promotion of bird tourism, and community-based tourism. Rajiv.
Good afternoon. Just a second. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And first, let me clarify that I am going to make brief remarks based on my experience over the last 2 decades. And I was TIE's UNEP delegate to the World Ecotourism Summit held in Quebec in 2002. And for the last 2 decades, I have been involved in multiple capacities. First, as a champion practicing and applying. And in the last 5-6 years, more as a researcher. And it's an honor for me to be here. When I look back, what happened in Quebec at that time, there was great enthusiasm, belief, and I remember seeing hordes and hordes of young people, particularly from North America and Latin America. And I myself made a presentation on a project that we had done in Himalayas, Corbett Binsar Nainital Ecotourism Initiative. And when I returned from there, we tried to make a policy in Uttarakhand. This is the Himalayan state where I work, and institute training programs, initiate projects, and particularly give attention to bird tourism. And a big course was organized for by UNESCO, for community-based tourism planning. And so there a lot unfolded in this sphere of ecotourism. And when I look back, I find that some of the guides, they have become practitioners and running their own projects. And many of the trainees in these training program have fanned out throughout the Himalayas and established some path-breaking projects. And ecotourism continue to provide stimulation for experimentation, imagination, and reaching out to new areas and engaging with communities. But it's not as if everything has been good, and there are some challenges. And so I will come I would like to dwell on them a bit in detail. The first thing is that while I compliment for the change in the definition of ecotourism, with Glenn mentioned that in 2016, the interpretation and environmental education was added, which I think is one of the most important aspects of ecotourism now. There is no nature out there. The definition of ecotourism, it assumes that nature has to be conserved, but there is no nature out there, meaning that in all the natural areas, some kind of activities and human presence and rights, history, it is there. And the problem with ecotourism starts when we try to tidy up these areas for quote unquote ecotourism activities, for bringing out tourists. And much of my work has been in Corbett Tiger Reserve, which is one of the premier tiger reserves of India. And it has the highest density of tigers and perhaps the single largest tiger population also. But in my research, I have looked at how tourism zones have multiplied over time, particularly in the last 2 decades, and how in the creation of these zones for creating the quality ecotourism experience, area, space needs to be regulated, controlled, and past historical practices have to be done away with. So that is one issue that I have with ecotourism. But it's not, there is a solution, and the solution is that wherever ecotourism is used for ecological restoration or for building up nature, there it serves a very meaningful role. And close to where I live in Dehradun, a friend of mine in 2015, for a long time, Dr. Sejal Vora from WWF India, she didn't believe that ecotourism could work. And then she thought that let her give a try. And she has taken these private forests and set up the Jabarkhet Nature Reserve. And just 52 hectare patch, but it's it brings out the power of what ecotourism can do for conservation. So this project, it is completely financially self-reliant, and just by charging money for hiking and walking and some community supported activities and souvenirs, it's possible to run the reserve. So for future, I think ecotourism is going to play a very, very important role in conservation of small patches and areas under private ownership, community ownership, where it can provide the motive force for eliminating invasive plants, providing wildlife protection, and preserving biodiversity from forest fires and other some damaging effects. Another point I would like to make, and again, Glenn, I noticed that giving data from Costa Rica, he mentioned that what ecotourists prefer is nature guides. And I would concur with him. I think if there is a single biggest thing, there are 3 pillars of ecotourism: nature guides, lodges, eco-lodges, and itineraries. And of these 3, the most important is the nature guides. And my own experience has been that good quality guides get far return for an individual than providing other services or even lodging. because it is valued the most by tourists. And in our state, we have done nature guide training in the past, but it's going to be expanded in a big way. My vision for the state is that to a good, capable nature guide in every Himalayan village. And lastly, I would come to this just a second. So ecotourism has consistently faced a problem because of hijacking for many other purposes. And there's lack of consensus on the definition and meaning, and it is used by different agencies for different claims. But I think it is relevant. It leaves behind a very powerful legacy, and it holds great promise for future. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I was very brief, but I will be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's a Q&A session. So I know there's no written question on the chatting room. Then is there anyone who wants to ask a question? Could you raise your hands, or you can unmute yourself? Anyone? When they are preparing their question, I will ask questions to all our speakers, because you mentioned all the wildlife, including elephant and tiger. According to my research project, all the forests, the area has decreased in both of your country. Actually, I didn't have the data about the Indian forest, but you are forest officer, so you may have. But Myanmar also decreased the forest area. So it means there's the less habitat for wildlife, the both for tiger and elephant. So do you actually see some threatened situation through the decreased forest area to the wildlife, and then how it impacts on tourism?
Can I answer that question?
Yes, please.
So I think in Uttarakhand and in Western Himalayas in India, because of strict wildlife protection and complete ban on hunting, wild animal population have increased. And so we are in we are facing the challenges of human wildlife conflict, whether it is elephants, tigers, leopards, which is maximum, and bears. And not to mention the problem of monkeys and wild boars and crop depredation. So I think nobody would have imagined 20 years back that we are going to have these animals in such large number. But yes, you are correct in saying that for long-ranging animals like elephants, movement and migration, that is becoming problematic. And in India, large linear infrastructure mitigation measures are being introduced and experimented to ensure that animal corridors are maintained. So I think the problem is not so much related to decrease in forest cover as much as disruption of corridors and pathways for animals. And that is a challenge. And increasing animal numbers is also a challenge. But there are some who believe that this can also provide even greater opportunities for ecotourism, because wherever you have conflict, and it is not possible to practice agriculture, then there is an opportunity for ecotourism to step in for providing livelihoods. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then from Myanmar side, your opinions?
Thank you for this question, Mihai. Very intriguing, of course, and it's a very complex topic, you know, to move into the area of the forest department, because we are basically talking about ecotourism, and while at the same time we are working hand in hand together with the forest department, which is the wildlife conservation department itself. And from the look of what the outcome of the recent capacity building workshop, I have noticed that the forest department of the MONRAG has come up with a presentation saying that in addition to the two which were identified in the strategy policy document for Myanmar, they have also identified that there are altogether now 22 elephant camps, but these elephant camps are not actually when I say not actually, in the sense that they were previously with the Myanmar Timber Enterprise. This is what I understood, and understanding that means in the sense that they are going to be, you know, we would have more friendly relationship with the elephants as such, and bringing them into the conservation part with ecotourism, and the knowledge sharing is most important. And there are nature lovers, also there are elephant lovers, and I think we are exploring more opportunities where we can disseminate this information. And that part about the forest, I'm afraid I'm not expert to, you know, give you any information about the decrease of the forest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, but I learned in Myanmar, the forest department really aggressively tried to prevent illegal logging. So they have a strict law. So hopefully there is no more decrease, you know, forest cover.
Yes, Mihai, I agree with you there. And this, as I said, we've got now more elephant conservation camps, which means that just like, you know, cultivation, you have substitute cultivations up in the mountains, you know, so that we don't encroach into the area where the natural habitats are there. So that's the point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Our participants? So still we have a few minutes, you know, to ask questions. So I think the Asian country, many of Asian countries have the really good opportunity for wildlife ecotourism, but also have a lot of challenges already we discussed. But as
can I speak something?
Yes, please.
So I would just, since we have time, so I would just like to add that again, I agree with what was said in the inaugural speech by Ceballos about bird tourism. And that is one thing where in Uttarakhand, I can say with sure confidence that there has been tremendous progress. And we have a bird checklist of over 711 species, and which is remarkable. And in the Uttarakhand bird watching program, 20 bird watching destinations were developed. And the birds, bird photography has picked up in a big way. Bird guides have developed, and because of the new knowledge and dissemination through WhatsApp and other social media groups, there is far greater interest. And in times to come, I also see forays into winter tourism in higher Himalayan areas, because it's much easier to see animals. And in our neighboring states of Ladakh and Himachal, snow leopard tours have been there. But now we are also looking forward to, there's a sizable snow leopard presence in our state. And in Gangotri landscape, more than 40 snow leopards have been identified. And we are looking forward to community organized snow leopard tours. Thank you.
Mihei, you are on.
Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you very much. We had one comment and also question, New Lama. Why did we come to this stage and where have we gone wrong? Why managing destination through ecotourism is becoming so challenging now? So is anyone to express your opinions? He continued his the comment. You can read from the chatting screen. Anyone can mention?
I can say, I can try. I think the reason is because tourism rarely goes according to a plan. So many social forces, it's not just ecological, there are so many social and political forces that are in operation. And so if we look at a destination, if we look at its life cycle, if we look at different stages, so it's under nobody's control. Even government does not have total control over it, nor does community. And so what happens is tourism is an result of interactions between the government, community, tourists, and the industry. So that's why the rules are so important.
Can I also just add on? Let me try also, because I always, since I've been very much involved in ecotourism development policies and all that, community-based tourism, I think there's been various levels of misconceptions also. When I say misconceptions, the understanding tends to be a bit different. Like, for example, people would like to, you know, they're promoting the country, they're promoting the destination. But as you said, if ecotourism is not to be taken as a destination, then it's an activity that is to be done. Then what kind of activities are we going to do? Because we have this mix in culture as well as nature. Because if you look at Myanmar, for example, especially if we go back to the slides that I talked about, Tamindari, for example, there are indigenous people living there at the same time. That's culture. You have to follow certain traditions. But at the same time, we're also doing marine tourism, which we have to think about ecology and environment. But those activities we need to disseminate in a way that people do not understand that is the area that we should overcrowd. You know, if we start overcrowding, what we are going to do there, we are going to destroy not only the culture there, but we are also going to destroy the ecology there, where you know, the beauty. I'm not saying that the beauty should stay by itself, but the community should be there to see to it. So I think the community involvement is very much at stake now. And I think knowledge sharing is very important for that. We need to have more case studies. We need to share information. We need to collaborate within the ASEAN itself. Because if we look at the mangroves, for example, I think there are about 8 countries in ASEAN itself where we have mangroves. And I think we need to share that. And science is very important also at the same time. I'm talking about at that level now, but we can go down to the grassroots as we move on. Thank you, Mihei.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so we have a lot of things to talk about on this issue, but we have another question from Masaru Takayama. Masaru?
Yes, hello.
Since, of course, Rajiv, it's been nice to talk to you like this again after so many years. And since this is on the forestry, and since we are also talking about the resilient tourism, especially during this COVID-19 era, I have a question to all of you, actually, if you could answer, is that related with the ecotourism, I think there's more demand rising in people asking for like a therapeutic elements in like forest therapy. There are people looking into more of a wellness spa kind of thing, or looking into just open spaces, or just being with green and blue in case of the natural elements, to feel away from where they're usually constrained in their houses. So what would you see any potential in linking those elements into ecotourism, maybe with COVID and post-COVID era? Thank you.
Can I jump in now?
Yes, please.
No, everybody's silent, so I said, let me not waste time. Yeah, I'm sure the expertise will have more to say, but I'm speaking from my own, passion as well. And I think I agree totally with you that how are we going to relate to ecotourism? And that's the point. That's the challenging point, because everybody is going to move to the ecotourism where they can enjoy ecotourism, where they can do all these activities. What are we going to do? That's the biggest question for me. Because if they start moving into, of course, not if, they are in fact, open spaces are the main attractions now. They would like to go camping, they would like to go cycling, and they would like to bird watching. They don't know in the new normal situations, are the ecotourists really responsible ecotourism tourists or not? So I think we need to have the just like we have the standards, we also need to have guidelines of such. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Rajiv. Oh, we lost him. Okay, so Mr. Aung, do you have anything to speak? No.
Yeah. So in response to the questions of, so I think this is the time for us to think about the development of ecotourism in our country. But the important thing we need to consider is also ecotourism alone cannot attract people, I think, in my opinion, because we have to mix up with the others, activities that are maybe cultural tourism or heritage tourism or something like that. So this is the time for ecotourism development, but we have to think about the attractiveness of our products to the potential visitor to our region or our destinations. This is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Is there any further question to our speakers? Well, actually, I would like to suggest, under AEN, we may develop some kind of guidelines on the wildlife ecotourism. Already there are, separate guidelines, including elephant, tourism. Initially initiated in Thailand, there were a lot of conflicts. So when people criticized, elephant riding, they all said just, banning the elephants. So I just thought that's another, greenwashing. Yeah, there are some good the care center though. So and then in Africa, they also, main destination for wildlife tourism So I can't remember the association, but the industry, they developed guidelines. What is right? What is we have to accept, and what we cannot accept. So it can give guidelines to not only tourists, but to the community and the businesses. Instead of let them misuse the term of wildlife tourism or ecotourism. So AEN may discuss internally, and then we will ask your input in developing those guidelines. So our chair, what do you think?
Exactly, Mihi. That's why AEN is here. We want to be the source of knowledge, but we cannot exist AEN without having the input from all these member countries, and of course in the wider industry. So any request, what kind of, we have just developed the ecotourism standard for the accommodation. We are also working underway with the ecotourism destination standard. So any standards making or having to build guidelines, but we need to test on the field, and any input from your side will be greatly appreciated. And that's why we function as AEN. So thank you so much, and bring it that Mihi also.
Thank you. Welcome, my big pleasure. So we will. We have the one question from Indonesian venue. Sorry, I missed that. How to make the concept of ecotourism successful in destination? Increase. We have time to answer. Oh, sorry. In case we have time. We have just 4 minutes to answer it. So how can I make ecotourism successfully satisfy the original concept of ecotourism? So what's the key point? So there are many, but let's just suggest, one key point. Kiki, what will you suggest?
Actions, not just talking.
I think I agree with you. Implementation, yes. Involvement, yes.
Yeah, I think we have already, a lot of good policies.
That's true.
But, it's not implemented in the field. So we have the government officials and then other public sector participants. So I think we may not need the new policy. Existing policy should be enforced. And then you all have a beautiful, act or law on the ecotourism or wildlife, conservation. So please enforce them in the field. Then we will have more successful cases. Yes, and then training, of course, is the next, that knowledge sharing and then capacity building is really important to be part of those policy implementation, I think. So I'm not sure it's enough the answer to that question from the floor. Okay, don't want to add? Okay, it seems like it's all okay. Thank you very much, for the first session of the afternoon. I think we had a quite good discussion, even though many are quiet. But I think you enjoyed, the discussions.